So if you want to get faster, more agile and vastly more powerful, the absolute worst thing you can do might actually be sitting down.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's true.
Right. Yet you walk into almost any gym today, and like 80% of the machinery is designed to make you do exactly that.
Oh, absolutely.
You just sit down, you lock your body into this heavily padded seat, and you push a lever in a perfectly straight line.
Mhm.
And, there's this comforting geometry to it all.
Sure, it feels safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you watch an elite athlete on a field, dodging, twisting, decelerating on a dime, that rigid geometry of the gym suddenly feels, well, completely disconnected from human reality.
It's a massive disconnect. I mean, we've spent decades training the human body as if it's just this collection of isolated pulleys and levers. But researchers are finally aggressively testing whether that standard, highly controlled methodology is actually holding athletes back. And, what happens when we force the body to train the way it actually moves in real life.
Which brings us perfectly to the core of our mission today. Today, we are diving into a fascinating paper titled Enhancing Physical Fitness in Elite Field Hockey Players with a 12-week functional training program, a cluster randomized control trial.
It's quite a mouthful.
It is, yeah. It's authored by Marrium Bashir, Hucheng, Geok, Saddam Akbar, and Zhang, and was published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine in 2024.
A really solid journal, too.
Definitely. So our mission in this deep dive is to explore the scientific rigor behind functional training versus traditional standard training, using elite young field hockey players as our ultimate test subjects.
And if you're going to test the absolute limits of human performance, field hockey is truly the perfect laboratory.
Why is that? I mean, out of all the sports.
Well, think about the biomechanical demands of that specific sport. It's this multifaceted Olympic discipline that requires immense aerobic capacity just to, survive the match.
Constantly running.
Exactly. But that baseline endurance has to support constant, explosive bursts of speed. Players are performing these rapid directional changes, often while literally bent over a stick.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds rough on the back.
It is. It demands incredible rotational power and the ability to manage your center of gravity under extreme dynamic stress. So if a training protocol works in field hockey, it's genuinely enhancing the entire athletic machine.
Okay, so to find undeniable proof of whether functional training actually moves the needle, the researchers set up a meticulously controlled experiment.
They really did.
They took 40 elite male field hockey players in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And these aren't amateurs. These are national-level competitors with an average age of about 21 and a half.
Prime athletic age.
Exactly. And they split them evenly into two groups. So you have a functional training group, or FTG, and a control group.
And what's crucial here is that the parameters outside the specific exercises were kept completely identical. You have to isolate the variable, right?
Right. Keep it scientific.
Exactly. So both groups trained 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Each session was exactly 60 minutes long, and this ran for a total of 12 weeks.
And they both did the same warm-ups too, right?
Yep, a standardized 10-minute warm-up and a 10-minute cool-down. The only difference, the single variable, was what happened during that core 60-minute window.
And man, the contrast in those 60 minutes is stark. The control group basically followed a completely traditional regimen.
Yeah, uniaxial single-joint exercises.
Right, like chest presses, seated leg extensions, seated leg curls, bicep curls, standing calf raises. They were basically doing the classic gym bro split.
Working at about 60 to 95% of their maximum intensity, yeah.
Meanwhile, the functional training group was subjected to a completely different philosophy. They focused entirely on multiplanar dynamic activities that forced multiple joints to work together simultaneously, often on, unstable surfaces.
Which changes everything.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it sounds like the control group is tuning individual instruments in an orchestra one by one, making sure the flute sounds good, the violin sounds good. But the functional group is forcing the entire orchestra to play a complex symphony together in real time.
Oh, I love that. That analogy hits on the exact biomechanical difference. But let's take that a step further into how the body actually processes energy.
Okay, lay that on me.
When you sit on a leg extension machine, the machine is providing your postural control. Your core doesn't really have to fire.
Because the seat back is holding you up.
Precisely. Your stabilizers are essentially asleep. The machine is acting as your skeleton. But when you engage in functional training, you are demanding that your central nervous system coordinates muscle firing across multiple planes of movement. This trains what we call the kinetic chain.
Okay, I hear kinetic chain thrown around in sports science all the time.
Yeah.
But for anyone listening who isn't a physical therapist, what does that actually mean in practice?
Simply put, it's how force travels through your body. Think of a hockey player taking a slap shot. Oh.
Right, the power doesn't come from their wrist. The force starts by their foot pushing into the dirt, travels up through the leg, across the stabilizing muscles of the trunk, through the shoulder, and finally snaps through the wrists.
Wow, so it's a full body event.
Exactly. That whole pathway is the kinetic chain. Functional training improves your internal postural control, which seals up energy leaks along that chain.
Energy leaks.
Yeah, it reduces the amount of energy your body wastes during complex movements and vastly improves the efficiency of that whole power transmission.
So instead of just building a bigger isolated muscle, you're building a highly efficient nervous system that knows exactly how to fire those muscles in sequence.
You're upgrading the whole system.
Which brings me to the actual workouts.
Yeah.
Because I gotta tell you, I was looking at the actual exercise logs in the study, and my chest hurt just reading it.
It was intense.
Seriously. The functional groups protocol wasn't just random hard exercises. They structured it into 3 very deliberate 4-week phases.
So weeks 1 through 4 were conditioning. Weeks 5 through 8 were athletic performance, and weeks 9 through 12 focused on power endurance.
And that phased progression is totally non-negotiable from a biological standpoint.
Really? Why?
You absolutely cannot jump straight into explosive power endurance movements without establishing baseline joint stability and central nervous system conditioning first.
Because what happens if you skip phase 1? Let's say a weekend warrior listener just, jumps right into week 9 to get fast results.
Oh, well, best case scenario. Severe central nervous system burnout. Your brain physically exhausts its ability to recruit motor units, and you just hit a wall.
And the worst case?
Worst case scenario, catastrophic joint injury. Think of it like a car. The conditioning phase builds the structural chassis of the car.
Right.
The performance phase adds the horsepower. And the power endurance phase teaches the car to run hot at redline for a full match.
That makes a lot of sense. And the exercises building that chassis are vivid. In the conditioning phase, they weren't just doing standard push-ups.
Not at all.
They were doing push-ups with their hands or feet elevated on a Swiss stability ball. And I've actually tried that.
How'd that go for you?
It feels less like a chest workout and more like a panic attack for your core. Why start there?
Because it completely changes the nature of the movement. On a stable floor, your chest and triceps just push. But on a Swiss ball, your obliques, your shoulders, and the deep stabilizers in your spine have to constantly micro-adjust. They're firing dozens of times a second just to keep you from falling on your face. You are waking up the nervous system.
That makes sense. And by phase 2, they're progressing to single-leg squats while standing on a balance pad and explosive multi-directional lunges with weights.
Building that horsepower.
Exactly. By phase 3, it's medicine ball throws from a deep squat, which mimics the forehand and backhand swings of their sport.
Yeah.
But this is where the study throws a massive curveball.
Oh, the midpoint data.
Yes. The researchers tested both groups at the 6-week mark, so right at the halfway point, and the data was wildly split.
Yeah, the midpoint testing is where the biology of human adaptation really reveals itself. At 6 weeks, the researchers found absolutely zero significant difference between the 2 groups when it came to flexibility.
None at all.
And they also found zero difference in straight-line speed, specifically the 30-meter sprint.
But on the flip side, the functional training group showed highly significant improvements in the T-agility test, which, for those who don't know, measures rapid forward, lateral, and backward running.
Yep.
And they also saw a massive leap in upper body endurance, specifically measured by their push-up count.
To put a number on it, the effect size for push-ups at week 6 was 1.09. And in statistical terms, anything over 0.8 is considered a large effect.
Wait, an effect size over 1.0 is huge, right? But what does that actually look like on the hockey field?
Well, it means this isn't just a spreadsheet anomaly. In a game scenario, an effect size of 1.09 is the tangible difference between a player completely gassing out and losing their form in the 3rd quarter versus dominating the physical matchups in the 4th quarter.
So it's very real.
It's a highly visible, undeniable adaptation.
Okay, so I have to push back on this timeline a bit. Why would upper body endurance and one very specific type of agility, the T-test, improve so drastically in just 42 days, while flexibility and the longer Illinois agility test didn't budge at all?
It's a great question.
Right. Because we aren't talking about beginners here who get those rapid newbie gains.
Yeah.
These are elite players who are already in peak condition. Is 6 weeks really enough time to rewire an elite athlete's body?
What's fascinating here is the fundamental difference between neuromuscular adaptation and structural tissue adaptation.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you introduce an elite athlete to a highly unstable multiplanar exercise like those Swiss ball push-ups, the immediate gains do not come from the muscle fibers getting physically larger or stronger.
Where do they come from then?
The gains come from the brain. The nervous system is literally learning how to fire the existing muscle fibers more efficiently.
Ah, okay. So the software gets upgraded before the hardware?
Exactly. The T-agility test involves rapid, basic directional changes. You sprint forward, touch a cone, shuffle sideways, run backward.
Right.
That relies heavily on postural control and how fast your brain can recruit motor units to stabilize a joint and change direction. The functional group spent 6 weeks forcing their nervous systems to do exactly that on balance pads and Swiss balls, so their agility and basic movement patterns spiked quickly.
Man, for anyone listening who plays in a weekend soccer or basketball league, this is huge. You don't need a full year to stop rolling your ankles or feeling sluggish on defense.
Not at all.
Your nervous system can upgrade its stability in just a month and a half. But flexibility. Flexibility is a different beast entirely.
Because flexibility and joint range of motion aren't just software issues. They require deep tissue adaptations.
Yeah.
You are physically trying to change the elasticity of the muscle fascia, the tendons, and the connective tissues.
And why does that take so much longer?
Well, fascia is like a tough, fibrous spiderweb that wraps around and through our muscles. Unlike a muscle belly, which gets massive blood flow the second you start working it, connective tissue and fascia have relatively poor blood supply.
Oh, I see.
So remodeling those collagen fibers so they become longer and more elastic under dynamic stress requires sustained, repeated tension over a much longer horizon. 6 weeks of training 3 times a week simply wasn't enough biological time to force that physical remodeling.
That makes perfect sense. And the Illinois agility test, which also didn't improve at week 6, is a much longer, more complex weaving task than the T-test.
Right.
So it totally makes sense their software needed more time to adapt to that level of complexity.
Which brings us to the biology of a full cycle, the 12-week verdict.
Yes.
After 3 full months, the researchers tested everyone again.
And the data at week 12 paints a very clear, conclusive picture. The functional training group demonstrated statistically significant superiority over the control group across almost the entire board.
Across the board. Let's look at flexibility. Measured by the sit and reach test, the functional group achieved an incredible effect size of 1.53.
Wow, which means the deep tissue adaptations finally took hold. The hardware was actually upgraded.
Yes. 3 months of performing dynamic movements through full ranges of motion, like deep split squat jumps and medicine ball rotational throws, it physically remodeled the architecture of their joints and connective tissues.
And the control group.
Traditional seated leg extensions simply do not offer that end-range tension or that dynamic stretch, so the control group didn't see those gains. Furthermore, by week 12, both agility tests, the basic T-test and the complex Illinois agility test, showed significant superiority in the functional group.
Incredible.
And their muscular endurance numbers continued to climb far past the control group as well.
It's an incredibly compelling narrative for how the human body adapts. I mean, you have a training program that makes you vastly more flexible, allows you to change directions on a dime, and skyrockets your muscular endurance compared to traditional machine lifting. But here's where it gets really interesting. There was one glaring exception in the final datasheet, the speed paradox.
Ah, 30-meter sprint.
Yes. After 12 weeks of grueling, explosive power endurance work, kettlebell swings into squat jumps, multi-directional lunges with weights, the 30-meter straight-line sprint test showed absolutely no statistically significant difference between the functional group and the traditional machine group.
None.
So you get vastly more flexible, your nervous system is firing flawlessly, your endurance skyrockets, but you don't actually get any faster in a straight line.
Oh.
How's that biologically possible?
It seems entirely counterintuitive, almost frustrating, until you look at the highly specific mechanics of maximal linear speed.
Okay, unpack that.
The researchers concluded that this anomaly came down to the exact exercise selection. If we connect this to the bigger picture of sports science, we hit upon a core, unbreakable tenet, the principle of specificity.
Meaning your body adapts specifically and only to the exact demands you place on it.
Precisely. Functional training is incredible for improving whole body movement patterns, rotational power, and lateral stabilization. But pure 30-meter straight-line sprint speed is a highly specialized mechanical action.
Right.
It relies almost entirely on two distinct variables: stride length and stride frequency. It requires maximum vertical force application into the ground in a fraction of a millisecond.
Okay, so if we think of this like a car, functional training gave these athletes a vastly better suspension system to handle sharp corners, off-road bumps, and sudden stops.
I love the car analogy.
But straight line speed, that's about dropping a bigger engine block into the car and tuning the transmission specifically for a drag race. And they didn't train for a drag race.
That's the perfect way to look at it. The researchers explicitly noted that the functional program lacked specific acceleration-stimulating exercises.
Because they were doing lateral stuff.
Exactly. The functional athletes were doing lateral movements, side planks, rotational medicine ball throws. They were training to be better field hockey players who move in 360 degrees, constantly accelerating and decelerating.
Right, they weren't track stars.
They were not training to be track and field sprinters. Doing single-leg balance squats will give you an iron core and bulletproof knees for cutting past a defender, but it will not automatically increase the frequency of your sprint stride.
Makes sense.
If